What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome to Grizz 901, your number one Memphis Grizzlies postgame show. And it's not even close. We are coming off of a late night tip, but honestly, this was an incredible game. If you stayed up, you were rewarded for this because the Grizzlies took on the Los Angeles Lakers out in La La Land, and it came down to a 128-123 into the game, and it was closed down to the very end. We have a late tip in from Santi that kind of cut it to win 3, and then at that point, it was a free throw fest to kind of just flourish into the very end. But in the end, the Grizzlies, they played well. They're obviously behind the 8 ball with having to go on the road, going into LA, where honestly the Lakers are undefeated on the season so far. So that was a tough stretch. But now we move on and we look ahead to the Grizzlies' first NBA Cup game, and that's going to be on Friday night. And we have Ryan that's going to give us a little bit of a look ahead for that. But then in the middle segment, there is no Grizz trivia tonight. We're looking ahead at the monthly awards. And so everybody's done the monthly awards. If you've had a chance to kind of scan the QR code that we've had the last week, we're going to go ahead and show you and kind of break down those awards. And then the very first, as we always do, we're going to give you the breakdown of the game where the Grizzlies end up losing 128-123. But you know my guy is here. Nate's with us. Listen, this should be a big night, should be a fun night. Let's go ahead and break this game down. Yo, Nate, what up? What up? Are you awake?
This thing on?
Hey, it's all. What up, man?
Man, these West Coast games are going to hit different with a 5 a.m. wake-up call, huh?
Sheesh. Hey, is this the first night game? And then we have a new child, right? So this is going to be you. Listen, you have an hour head start. And before I get into my life, you have an hour head start. And so you're a little bit better than me at the moment.
Sort of, in a way. Not really.
Well, I'm just a little bit of a head start on and what might happen. I just be honest with everybody. So my wife just had ACL surgery. I don't even know what day it is. Today, Wednesday, right? Or about to be Thursday. But anyway, it's Wednesday. She has ACL surgery yesterday. And so I am obviously taking care of her and my kiddos. My kiddos should sleep. That's fine. But if my wife texts me the old help on the text, help. I need to walk away from the show a little bit. Nurse Greer. So I need to walk away from the show just for a second, help her move maybe help her use the restroom. A little too much information, but she has to be able to get out of the bed. And so if for some reason Nate goes solo, that's the reason, but I will be back. I'll be here for the entire show. But my wife is definitely going through it right now. But the Grizzlies went through it there in the fourth quarter as the Grizzlies were leading, or I guess we're down by 1 at the half. And then third quarter, we bounce back. We take the lead. We jump out. And we're throwing punches and jabs back at the Lakers. But then the fourth quarter hits off the top rope. Your thoughts on the game?
So let's talk about it's a loss.
Right.
Who do you blame for the loss? No one.
Inexperience.
No one. I don't blame anyone. It was a good basketball game.
Right.
Both teams played really well.
Yeah.
Wasn't the ref's fault. Wasn't the players' fault.
Yeah.
Wasn't Taylor Jenkins' fault, which by God, everybody wants to get mad at Taylor. And listen, Keith's my guy. Everybody I see that's blaming Taylor on Twitter. I like everybody.
Yeah.
But dude, what do you want him to do? Why don't we challenge that foul call on Jaren? Because you're going to lose the challenge.
That's true.
That's why you don't challenge it. Rui grabbed his jersey after Jaren had fouled him.
Correct.
That's how it goes. You don't want to lose that, right? And then you have a goofy lineup for a few minutes. But here's the truth. If Scottie Pippen – and listen, Pippen played awesome tonight. Pippen has impressed me so much. You're 2 Scottie Pippen layups away from having a chance to go win that game at the end.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was a really good game. I thought the Grizzlies played really well.
Right.
I think that the Grizzlies really outplayed the Lakers in every facet of the game except for one. They had an outlier shooting night.
Yeah.
The Lakers normally shoot 35% on 32 attempts. And they took 40 tonight and shot 50%.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to is you
Basketball, man.
shoot 48.8%. You know, the difference is they made 8 more 3-pointers and won by 5 points. If you break it down to simple math, even I can understand that. But I have to say, Nate, we're going to have a kind of a heart to heart because me and King Meeks, we're on the same page here. And honestly, I think we blame you. Like, I don't know who else to blame. We'll blame you if that's okay.
That's fine. I can take it. I'm a man.
I'm a man. I can take it.
I got a semblance of a beard. Listen,
right.
Everybody, every time this team loses, I hate when we act like sore losers. Like sometimes both teams played well and the other team just won. They just got they got hot on the final stretch. And then if you'd have had a few more minutes, you would have won it. Right? It's just one of those games. It's a fun basketball game to watch. I hate the Lakers. I hate losing to them, but dude, tip your cap. LeBron went off. They made all their shots. Like Rui Hachimura, of course, made all his shots, and then Dalton Connect made his shots. But sometimes it just happens, man. So I'm not mad at anyone. I love the way they played. I'm actually really encouraged by a couple of players, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. But
yeah, we'll break it down completely as the Grizzlies. They do end up losing the 128 to 123, but there's a lot of new people that I haven't seen in here tonight. So welcome. If you're joining us over from Twitter, thank you. But if you are still watching on Twitter and you're looking around like, where are all these comments coming from? Like, what is happening? All right. Well, they're on YouTube. Okay. So join us over on YouTube. We'd love to have you over there for sure. But let me give you a little bit of these. A Grizz girl who we love. Bummer without Ja, 100%. Like Ja makes the Lakers games, but also Desmond. There's the petty machete that Desmond is always wielding. That is the guy that I really love in these matchups. And so we missed both of them. But then another guy, Grandfather Grizz, which I have never seen. If we have missed you, I don't know how. But shout out to you. But ultimate positivity. And this is what our show is about. We kind of, always celebrate the good guys, but try to be as positive as we can. Solid outing considering who we're all missing. But the full squad, we won by a twanky there.
Oh, you throw one other guy in there. Like the one lineup was super goofy. The lineup was goofy. I'm not going to pretend.
Too many white boys?
Dude, but here's the thing. Like, who else you going to put in? That's what I'm saying. Like, tonight, Jaren goes out. You don't have anyone to throw in there, right? Like, all it takes is being able to throw in Dez or Ja, right? And it's like, someone should have just, nope, we're show positivity. We're show positivity. I'm not going to say that.
No, we got to be honest.
I'm just saying Christian Coloco was on the court and in the air for a minute, and there's an opportunity. I'm kidding. True. I don't want anybody to get hurt. Hey, that I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose to Josh. Still should have been called a foul. But if you have your guys, like you don't have to be like, okay, do I put Jitty in because Jalen Wells is struggling tonight? Right? And listen, rip to Jitty, man. That's
he doesn't look good.
Well, he's got no place on this team once these guys are healthy, dude.
And that's
not
honestly,
even at the end of the rotation.
Like if you look at this team now, the athleticism is so good. And I heard something. I cannot remember where I heard it from. It might have been from Pete, not Pete, but Brevin and Fish on their podcast. But I heard it somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. But you have a guy like Jitty who is break glass in case of emergency. You feel confident as a franchise, as a coach, that, hey, if we need to go to him, let's go to him. He's not going to be a locker room issue, right? He's a little overpaid. I get that. I'm not having my hand in anybody's pocket like that. It is what it is. Like they're figuring out their whole deal. We're getting a lot of guys that are on steals, but just overall, he doesn't look like himself right now. And I don't know what's going on, if there is a bigger injury there, but he doesn't look like he's flying around. And then honestly, a lot of these guys are just more athletic than he is. And he doesn't have the edge of rebounding and the Mr. Do something similar to what D'Anthony Melton had. He doesn't have it. And so I'm curious what is missing there and why it's missing. And so, as Keith says, this is perfect, Keith. And shout out to you. Jitty isn't doing Jitty things. He's not. He looks like just a dude and not just somebody who's doing everything. And so I don't see it. I don't get it. Hopefully, this might be the last we see of him for a little bit. Maybe he allows himself to get healthy. We break that glass at a later date. But that we might be getting Vince Williams back, which we'll get into obviously a little bit later on. But we'll have we just got Smart back. We should be getting Vince back Friday because, as everybody knows, that's how it works. But also BC, which could go to an 11-man rotation. BC is great when we take on the Golden State Warriors. I almost called them the Wizards, but the Golden State Warriors. I was looking for a W. I knew it was there.
We're all looking for a W tonight.
True. But let's go ahead and go through the game. And honestly, if there's anybody that y'all want to hit on that we might have missed or we will miss, or anybody you want to go ahead and bring to the forefront, let us know. We'd love to go ahead and talk through this and kind of make sure we're on the same point as you are. But honestly, the Grizzlies shot okay. They played okay. There was some stuff that the Grizzlies just kind of missed that were wide open shots and stuff like that. That's going to happen. I'm not too worried about that. But in the end of the day, the Grizzlies, they had 12 to 7 offensive rebounds. They were out rebounded completely by 42-41. It was a very close game. 28-31 in assists, steals 11-7, blocks 6-5, turnovers 14-18. Like there's not much there that you're like, hey, like this is the reason. Points in the paint, the Grizzlies. Did you know, Nate, since we don't have Grizz trivia, did you know the Grizzlies lead the league in points in the paint?
I did not, but I'm not surprised.
58 tonight to the Lakers 36.
Yep.
Crazy. But the Grizzlies still played well. If I told you the Grizzlies had 3 more fouls, but they shot 1 more free throw tonight, would you be surprised?
Actually, I would not.
It was close. I was okay with the refs tonight. They came in flurries, but I don't think there was anything that I looked at that and said, hey, the refs completely overthrew this game.
No, not at all. Which was surprising. No Morant, and you have Josh Tivins and Scott Twardarski on the fall.
God, they hate the Grizzlies.
I can't stand either one of those guys, but I thought it was a well officiated game tonight. Again, there's no one to blame.
No, I agree. You could pick apart that minute, or Nate just kind of deciding that he was just going to peace out. I'm curious. So Nate had some issues before this on getting signed on, and so I'm curious if his computer is restarting. But let me go through the game real quick, and we'll kind of look through a little bit of what you're talking about over here in the chat. Yeah, the internet just shut off. Nate just texted. So Jaren 29-7-1, obviously in foul trouble. He had 5. He ended the game with 5. He never picked up that 6th foul, but he went 2 of 7 from deep, 10 of 20 overall. And so a great night out of him. Aldama played well, played with him himself, 15-7. Jalen Wells, very much oversized by LeBron. I don't know if anybody saw LeBron going at him. And it just looked like he was giving up at least 50 pounds, in my honest opinion, that Jalen Wells was. And so who knows what was going on. You're back. Welcome.
I have no idea what just happened. It was scary. I was afraid.
As Wayno says, the Utah Wi-Fi sucks.
Yeah, that and all the food.
And Jay Huff started the game 6-3. Scottie Pippen Jr. 15-3-3. So out of any of the guys, the starters, Nate, that you want to hit on, anything that you've seen that you're like, hey, this is good, this is bad, and kind of dissect it that way.
Starting Huff was a choice, but I understood the choice.
Okay. The good thing is, I'll say, with coaching, it's okay to make decisions. You just don't stay with your decisions. And I'll have to say that the fact that you went with it and then you went away from it, it just shows me that, hey, we're going to try this because that's what we think is the right decision. It ended up not being the right decision. And so you make adjustments at halftime.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I get it because bright lights type of game. You're putting Edey up against one of the best bigs in the league. I mean, just unbelievable player in Anthony Davis. That's a tough call. You have someone like Jay Huff, who's more of an athlete, is a little bit more fleet of foot than Zach Edey.
Right.
It makes sense. But then they opt into Edey and say, hey, we're going to go with this anyways. And we'll get into it a little bit later. Edey held his own. But
for sure,
I thought Huff was a little bit rough tonight, but that's going to happen every once in a while. He still had really good moments too.
Yeah, and Huff was fine. Did not hurt them completely, but he definitely, was not a good start from him. Let's go into Wells, because I know I just hit on that. Jalen Wells, he struggled a little bit early on. He never found his shot. 0 of 3 from deep, 4 of 8 overall, which is fine. 9 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. But him not being able to cover LeBron was an issue, especially early on. But it was an issue the entire night whenever LeBron wanted it to be an issue. I'm just going to be honest. I do not like LeBron James. I think he is an amazing player. I think he's one of the best, if not the best. I love Jordan because I grew up with Jordan. I saw him into his prime, obviously. LeBron is amazing. But my God, when LeBron turns it on, because now he has to decide when he turns it on or not, because he's about to be 40. But when he turns it on, there is zero chance you're stopping him unless you have the size, the girth, as we like to say, the size, but also the athleticism to be able to get in front of him and stay in front of him. LeBron was a beast tonight.
He's one of one when it comes to athletes. Yeah. I mean, just unbelievable specimen. I don't even know how else to put it. It's not even just athlete, just work of nature. Jalen Wells, one, it's just, I mean, dude, he's like giving up 200 pounds to LeBron.
I'm curious about that. He looked like 200 pounds, but I think it might have been just 50. But damn.
But I mean, that's just so crazy tough. And there's a couple of moments the lights looked a little bright for Jalen tonight, which is fine, dude. You're playing on national TV on ESPN against the Lakers, and you're guarding LeBron James. Yeah, that's okay if the lights are a little bit bright, man. But if you're a rookie in your 11th game or 12th game and you're guarding LeBron James on ESPN primetime, yeah, man, that's a tough matchup. So I'm not worried about it, but did look a little bit bright for him. Jaren has arrived. Jaren's arrived, man. He can absolutely dominate a game, and it didn't matter who it was on him. If it was LeBron, if it was Anthony Davis. The only reason LeBron was able to guard Jaren tonight is because LeBron is allowed to play tackle football if he's guarding a big. The LeBron whistle exists. It exists because he's amazing at basketball. It's helpful if you get to throw your shoulder into a guy as he's taking a shot. Right. So but Jaren can go guard against anybody, man. He can go against anybody. So Jaren's awesome.
Goon hates this part of the show right now.
Yeah, that's okay. He's allowed to hate it. Still our buddy. But yeah, Jaren is just borderline matchup proof. When he goes against Anthony Davis now, I don't feel Jaren has a tough matchup tonight. Yeah. I'm like, no, they both have tough matchups, and I think they're both going to show up for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. The game breaker is just absolutely punching Jalen Wells in the gut.
Right. What a throwback from Black Noon DJ. Talking about the playing LeBron playing NFL Street. If you know, that's an old school game, an OG game for sure.
But I think that's always worth mentioning because this is one of the matchups that always gave him trouble. Great defensive big like Edey, and Jaren is here for it. So it's awesome to see.
Let's stick on that a little bit. And I know this is kind of completely off the rails, and this is from Keith, but before it gets too far into the show, we're talking about Jaren, so I kind of want to stay there if we can. The number 2, obviously Ja is number 1. I think Ja is understood to be the MVP of the league if he could stay healthy and kind of keep himself together and find his way into this new motion type offense. Who's the number 2 for you? Does it change? Is it always the same? Always
1B.
Wow.
Jaren, those two dudes. Bane is awesome, and he can get on an absolute heater. Right? And when Bane's just making every shot, it's just okay, go make a shot.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the takeover effect that Ja and Jaren can both have.
Okay. Let me devil's advocate you a little bit, because I agree with you. I have not seen when all three of them are on the court. Let's just say in the game overall.
You've seen all three of them on the court?
Yeah, nobody has. But let's say when they're all three on the court, I haven't seen when Jaren can be the takeover guy. He always will kind of defer. And Bane has been that takeover guy when honestly, when they've been all together, is when maybe Ja's not doing it, or Ja's getting double teamed, and they rely on Bane. And Bane honestly is the guy who's knocked down shots, but also gets to the rim. I'm curious if whenever, because we haven't seen all three really on the court together, especially for a culmination of games ever since that leap, I think that Jaren took last year. I'm curious if we see that. And so devil's advocate says, I don't know if Jaren isn't just the takeover guy when Ja and Bane aren't there, or can he actually keep doing that when they get there?
If Ja's out of the game and you need someone to take over, you're going to Jaren. Okay. When I think number two, I think who are you going to? Who are you going to when number one isn't there? Jaren is the guy he would go to dominate the game if Ja isn't there. And
will he do it though?
Yes, he would. Okay. But that's the reason that you've never seen that is, one, Jaren has not been able to do that until the end of last year.
Right. Correct.
It's just not been something that he's ever done. But now we've seen it at the end of last year really consistently, and now at the beginning of this year. By the way, with everybody playing, you've seen him have spurts where like, hey, go take over the game. And he does.
Yeah.
But two, just the style of offense they played has been, okay, set a high screen, and then we're going to try and create space and see who we can kick it out to. Get open shots. It's never working to a guy in the post. And now Jaren can get the ball in the post, but also he can get on the perimeter, and he's not just going to bull over a guy and get a bunch of offensive fouls either.
Right.
So we haven't seen this version of Jaren with them.
Correct.
But even when it goes, like, the offense is not built to just go through one guy the way that they're playing. And to their credit, the offense is working, right? They're scoring a bunch of points every night. So it may not play out like that. But when it comes crunch time, who do you want to dominate the game? And it's Ja, and then it's Jaren.
Okay.
And depending on the matchup, that's going to get flipped sometimes. If they're like, hey, like they got a long guard on Ja, and they're just not letting them get anything, they'll say, hey, they got nobody for Jaren, and they'll go to him. He is the guy that they can say they don't have anyone for.
Okay.
Like, not just, hey.
He's better. He's definitely a better, I don't know what word I'm looking for. He's
matchup killer.
Matchup. Yeah, I'm looking for the word. I can't figure out. He's the guy that you're like, hey, he is the guy that you could go into any game and say, he could be an X factor. Like, he honestly is an ultimate X factor. The thing is, I want to see it. I want to see it. Can he be the guy that says, hey, it's me. Throw me the ball. I can take over here. I have the better matchup. I have the takeover effect. I haven't seen that with them on the court. He is always a guy that defers. I'm not saying he won't
see them on the court.
Yeah. We just want to see them on the court. We don't care what happens when they're on the court. But
listen, man, it's just Ja is the guy who just on any given night he can get whatever he wants. Right? He's just that guy. It's like, oh, by the way, tonight no one can guard me, and I can score from anywhere on the court. Good luck. Jaren is the guy that you can look over and say, nobody on your roster can guard me on any given night ever. Right. Right? So that's the biggest difference. But also it helps that Jaren wants to be a defensive player. And when Ja and Dez are in the game, he doesn't have to take on an offensive load. And he can save his energy for the defensive side of the floor, which matters to him and matters to this team. But it's a fun conversation.
Right,
the truth is, you got three dudes who can lead you to victory, but it's Ja and then it's Jaren.
Yeah, Keith, I appreciate that question. I wanted to hit that before we got away from the Jaren talk, but the Grizzlies tonight do lose 123-128 to the Lakers. I'm Daniel. That's Nate. We're Grizz 901. If you're just joining us for the first time, thank you. If you're watching on Twitter, come over to YouTube. We'd love to have you there. We're going to get into a little bit of the monthly awards that we're going to start doing, and we're going to grow this. This is something that using QR codes for the show, because we had over 100 people and honestly, we have a ton of people that watch the show each and every game that we're on, weekday. But we had over 100 people for this one time. We had that amount of people, which I thought we would get like 2 that would scan the QR code and go take 2 minutes to vote on these different awards. And so the fact that we had over 100 people, and I had to actually, try to figure out how many people voted for Dalton Connect over this other rookie, and I was having to look through all the numbers. And so it was cool to see that. So I want to say thank you all. But here shortly, in about 10 minutes, we're going to completely be done with breaking down the game, and we're going to get into our monthly awards. And so I put some graphics together on that. But let's go ahead and look through this as we always do. We've looked through a lot of, we've looked through all the starters. Let's go to the bench because I know we want to talk about Edey. Jake was fine. I don't think this was a Jake game, but let's talk about Edey, Smart, and Kennard, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, and I do want to say on Jake, like Jake has played really well.
Yeah, but I have an issue. Does Ja have that fire in his eye though? King Meek's got that dog in him.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he originally typed.
All right, let's go to Zach Edey. Zach Edey did not start the game, but ends up being a starter at halftime. He kind of got donged a little bit. And so we're going to go with Edey starting at half here. Having a good game, 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 1 assist. Thoughts on Edey tonight?
No, Edey gave AD hell the most of the game. AD got it at the end. He got the highlight shots. Dog, Edey had that man in absolute hell for most of the game. Edey was winning that matchup handily for most of the game.
Yeah.
Not what I expected.
So with AD, so AD and LeBron have always been a matchup issue with the Grizzlies just in general, because we don't, we've been a little bit smaller at times. We've been a little bit thinner. Maybe we're JV-like, Steve-O-like. And honestly, AD can just be more athletic and just kind of give it to us. Edey, I don't think he got ate up as much as we thought he might. And I know that we were in discussions that Edey was just kind of just struggling early in the game, but he finally found himself, and he found a way to kind of lean on AD and kind of just frustrate him a little bit. But Edey was surprisingly good tonight, as in, not that he's a bad player, but going against AD, very few people look good against Anthony Davis. And so absolutely shout out to him completely, because it was a great game of him playing through it, figuring it out, and honestly just being a pest.
Dude, it was awesome. It was awesome, and he was ready for it. Yep. He was ready to go up against like possibly the single best defensive big in the entire association. And he was there for it. And he was out positioning him for rebounds.
Right.
He was getting to good close shots in the paint. He was playing really good, solid defense and not taking the bait and fouling and jumping into him. I mean, until they did figure out, like, hey, we're going to put him in a pick and roll. Then he's kind of screwed. But honestly, man, it's like one of those things where, hey, if you're the Grizzlies, you'd say Anthony Davis wants to stay taking 18 to 20 footers all night. That's fine. Just don't let him dominate the paint. And Edey didn't let him dominate the paint. So, listen, Edey is still superior player to Zach Edey. But Edey holding up against Anthony Davis bodes really well. And we've already talked about this before, but him and Wells both, just every game, they're taking not little steps, like big steps into being really important contributors for this team, right? And I know it's a talk of Grizz Nation everywhere, but like, dog, what are they going to do when these guys are all healthy? like Edey's kind of makes sense. Edey's going to be there no matter what. Dude,
yeah.
What are you going to do when you got Wells and Kennard and Vince and Gigi and, well, Jake's going to end up falling out of that. Sorry.
And Jitty, I agree. You got to figure out a spot for him.
Jitty's already out. I don't take joy in saying that. But
no, I'm completely joking. Like he doesn't look like himself, and so this only reason I'm not crapping on the guy. He doesn't look like himself, so it is what it is.
There's one other guy on that should be the odd guy, the odd man out, that came off the bench tonight.
Let's go ahead and keep talking about these guys real quick. And as Memphis Maids 901 said, Memphis Maid 901. Sorry, I gave my maids. It's just kind of like my Krogus. I put an S on it, but this matchup fully healthy is
it's not a matchup.
Is awesome. It is a matchup because you got to think that LeBron and AD are always going to figure out a way to kind of rise to the occasion. I think that this is a game, no matter who's on the court. I really do, because you always have the refs that are an issue. That can be an issue. But I believe that this is somehow always a game, even if Ja, Jaren, and Bane are on the court together. That's just my thoughts. I think LeBron figures out a way to kind of take a step. Let's go ahead and get into Let's get to Marcus Smart first. 15, 2, and 6 tonight. 2 of 4 from deep, 3 of 5 overall. I've said many times about Dylan Brooks. Just don't shoot less, right? Especially if you're a bad shooter. That's what Marcus Smart is doing. My issue is he's a little undersized. What does he do? Does he as a player, does he stand out from the rest? To you, do you think Marcus Smart stands out from the rest?
He doesn't fit.
Okay.
It's if he played like he did tonight, where he's only taken 5 shots, he is playing a ton of really hard defense all night, which you love. But it just I'm like, dude, where do you fit next to our best players, which is where we want you playing?
Yeah.
And man, you just don't. Because here's the thing: if you're playing next to John Morant, you need to take more than 4 threes, because you're going to get more than that, and you're going to get a bunch of open shots. And man, I see Black Ninja J, who's pissed at Marcus tonight. I'm not pissed at Marcus.
Nobody.
I think he played. I think he played well. I'm just looking at the lineup and everybody coming back, and I'm like, again, we've had this conversation 1,000 times. I think winning matters so much, and having winning players matters so much.
100%.
But I'm just looking. I'm like, dude, you look at all the wings we have. Wells fits better. Vince fits better. GG fits better. It's just hard to feel like, hey, you're going to get minutes over these guys other than the veteran factor, which I don't think is nothing, but I'm not sure it's enough. You know what I mean?
Right. That's honestly, that's where it's at. It's not that Marcus Smart isn't a good player. He just doesn't fit with this team. And I think the veteran leadership, the been there, done that effect is crucial. But that doesn't mean if you do trade him at some point, and I'm not saying that we have to trade Marcus Smart. If you do make a trade and you trade him, you have to understand what you need to get back. And it is a veteran guy, but it's also some guy that fits you. And I think that's what you have with the Grizzlies is you need somebody that stands out. There's got to be some consolidation. So I'm curious what that is. But we'll get to Luke Kennard in 1 second. But we have a first-time listener, Matthew Tan. Welcome to you. But he's got a question. I got Pippen, Aldama on the fantasy team. Should he upgrade?
I don't play fantasy basketball. I don't know if it's like DFS where there's value in having guys.
There is. But this is like long term. So it's the whole season, right? So it's just like it's not DFS, because DFS, just like in football, daily fantasy is something that that you get a new team. I would assume that his fantasy team is long term. It's the whole year. My issue, Aldama, too streaky. Pippen, he's fine now. These are both trade high candidates. If I can give you any advice, trade high.
I only know fantasy football, so I'm like, you got 2 boomer bust guys going for you right now. They could catch an 80-yard touchdown, or they could not get a single target.
Keith says upgrade Aldama, keep Pippen. I'm telling you, this is the time. Sell off, sell high. This is not the time to have diamond hands. You sell off, sell high. See you later. Because Pippen's good, he's fine. Pippen's never going to give you just amazing stuff because Ja's coming back. Okay,
right.
As long as Ja's always coming back, it is what it is. All right, let's get to the last guy, Luke Kennard. Thoughts tonight on him? Because Luke Kennard, he played within himself in a sense. He didn't when he first came to the game, he looked scared to shoot. But he ended up he knocked down 2 3-pointers, I believe. I'm sorry, he went 4 of 4. Sheesh. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I guess I missed 2 of them, but he went 4 of 4 from deep, had 12, 2 and 4 overall, 4 of 7. So really the only thing he hit was 4 3-pointers. Thoughts on Luke?
I mean, he can't defend anybody, but
Nobody.
But I really like the way Luke's playing, to be honest. He is sort of like a guy who, if you got somebody who's trying to lock down Ja or lock down Pippen, Luke can get in there and facilitate for you. Like, he is doing a lot more than just shooting threes right now. Yeah. He is driving, he's finding other players, he's manipulating the defense a lot. Like, you'll see him go into an action knowing that it's going to get so-and-so open here or there and get another guy to their spot, which is not something I expected from him this year. Not something I thought we saw from him last year either, even when he was trying to facilitate. So I do think he's stepped up his game. And so I really like what I see. And I think he is hunting shots. But in the past, when he hasn't had that shot, he's just deferred, passed it off, and gone to a corner for a minute.
Yeah.
Now, if he doesn't have that shot, he's looking for something else to do and facilitating someone else getting their shot. So I think he's one of the people that this new offense has benefited more than others, because it really fits the way he wants to play basketball. So I really like what I've seen from him, to be honest.
Well, if you think about it, like looking at, Luke at this point, we're talking about a guy that we thought would kind of get lost in the sauce, but now he is the player that is going to be better when he's playing against other really good players, because it's going to open up the space. He's going to create the space for them as well. So when you have your better players, when he's on the court, it's going to only help them. He's not a playground guy. He's me. Like, I'm not good playground style, but if you put me in a system, I might be all right. But no, he's definitely he's not a playground guy. He's not a guy that runs up and down, but get him into a system and he's gonna hit some good shots for you.
Yeah. I see Goon saying, give me Jordan Clarkson over Luke. No. If you're going with anyone over Luke, it's going to be Gigi Jackson. Like, here's what this is going to come down to. Do these guys step their game up enough that all of a sudden you can't keep them off the court, and then you end up selling like a Luke and a Marcus Smart, and at the end they Jake LaRavia as well.
BC.
To get other pieces, whether it's picks to keep building and developing, because again, with the new CBA, that's going to be really important.
Yeah.
Or are you just getting other players like more versatile bigs, more dominant bigs, call New York, things like that, to be able to make things happen. But right now, like, there's no reason Luke shouldn't be playing for this team. The only reason that you're going to see him, Wells, even like LaRavia, and then possibly looking at trade scenarios, Smart not playing, is because Vince and Wells and Gigi all just stepped up to the point where, hey, they're not going to shoot 45% from three like Luke is, but they'll shoot mid-high 30s, and they're going to do all these other things too. Right. So it's a good problem to have. It's all about how to develop this talent.
Yeah. And it's Lightning and DJ saying the CBA, the new CBA, garbage. It's garbage, man. Yeah. But it is what it is. But if you look at it, you could be a Jake coming off your books, Luke coming off your books. There could be a trade of some sort. So if there is a trade, you already expect the other guys to potentially fall off your books. If you trade, you do a consolidation by saying, hey, we're making the trade now to keep somebody on our books that's long-term, and you don't have to make those decisions in the offseason, because you have so many guys that are making $1 or $2 million a year right now. You also have Santi is coming off the books and potentially makes a new deal if you want to keep him. And so there's a lot of decisions to be had in the offseason in a sense, but also throughout this season, because if they make some moves, which guys are you using to make those moves with? And, because what is the long-term effects? Because anytime you let somebody go that's in your lineup, in your rotation, that's making less than $5 million, and they're playing quality minutes, you might not get that when you go and look elsewhere. But then you also have to look down your bench and go, all right, can that guy actually step up and do it? And so, there's so much to be included and figured out. But go ahead.
I do want to bring this up from Art. LaRavia is impacting winning. None of this is talking about anybody playing poorly.
No,
I'm super encouraged, not just by this game, but by the play over the past few games and this past stretch. Yeah, I think the Grizzlies outplayed the Lakers for the most part tonight, outside of some outlier shooting. The end of the day, though, once these guys all get back and you have a GG and a Vince and Wells, Cam Spencer, by the way, was playing really well before he got hurt in the summer. It's just like, where do you fit? Because he may be impacting winning, but he's most likely going to impact it the least.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's played really well, and he has proven to look like an NBA player who belongs in this league. And honestly, with all of these guys, I do think it's probably best for him to get moved somewhere else too, because there's not going to be the minutes. The minutes just aren't there for all these guys. So the Jake thing is actually, like, I couldn't say enough good things about Jake. I think that's sort of the point. He's played really well, man. Listen, I saw someone say exactly what I see. It was like he gets in the air. I'm like, stop jumping, Jake. But,
he's talking about watching the tape. Once he leaves his feet, it's jump passing lanes. It's kind of like that's just part of his game. It's only going to get better, and so he's gonna have his flaws. Yeah. The fact that AC Surreal, you're watching tape, you're going back and doing your work. Shout out to you, man, because that's when somebody asked me, I was on a in which I would assume I get asked to do this again, but I was on, and most of you won't know who this is, but the Roger Lodge, who was the host of Blind Date from the late 90s, the early 2000s. So Roger Lodge is a guy who's the host of Anaheim Angels, which is now, I think, is it still Anaheim Angels? Anyway, it's the Angels baseball team. It's their like broadcast network, whatever. He hosts a show on that. And whenever it's not baseball season, right, he's doing the other sports, which is the Clippers, the Lakers, stuff like that. And he brought me on to talk Grizzlies and Lakers to the ESPN audience of, I guess, the Southern Cal area. And he was talking so highly of the Grizzlies and just wanted to talk through it and just discuss things. And so I'm telling you, this team is catching on outside of just in Memphis, right? And so a lot of people are looking at this team, but honestly, it's fun to have a rivalry in a sense, because he was asking a little bit about the rivalry because of the chippiness that went on in the last game. And so I'm curious whether or not I think the respect is there. And this is what I came down on, is the respect is there. But I think that we want to beat them, because anytime you go for the crown, you can't miss. And so at this point, the Grizzlies are going for the crown. And so they're going to just keep going until they kind of keep going at the king, or as someone called him today, the dictator, with his decision on his son.
Dude. All right. Are we going to talk about that?
We're not. We can. Let's save it. We're already 45 minutes in the show. We need to get to our other segment.
It's messy.
It is messy.
But yeah, I hate him. I hate him. But just wait, man. Just wait till these guys get healthy, dude. It's gonna be so much fun.
No doubt. All right, so we have our other two segments. Put a bow on this. Anything else you have on the breakdown of this game tonight? The Grizzlies lose 128-123.
No, man. Like I said, I thought everybody contributed tonight, played really well. Just the other team shot the cover off the ball. It's one of those nights.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, you all voted, and here at Grizz 901, we're going to try to make your voice be heard. So every month, after the first of the month, we'll try to give you a QR code so you can go ahead and just vote. I'm always going to keep it short and sweet, and you went ahead and voted, and here is who you picked. Man, you doing your best Donovan Clingan impression over there.
Oops, what am I up to? Yo, they did him dirty with that shot. It's literally kind of like, oh, hey there.
I don't know. All right, so obviously I made this and I put it together, but
come here often.
So Donovan Clingan was, I think, because of Grizz Twitter and the Grizz fans, he was voted in as a top 5 rookie team. He got the 5th most votes. And as Button and DJ saying, is did not expect it. So let's go ahead and look at it real quick. We'll go ahead and talk through it. But obviously, Jalen Wells was the odds-on favorite to win, and he was by far the most, I guess, votes here. But my guy with the finger point, you like that, was Zach Edey. And then Ricochet, who was the 3rd best votes, just because he's played exceptional and he's played really good as of late. And then Dalton Connect and Donovan Clingan both came in at 4 and 5. Anything of that surprise you?
Clearly got some Vols fans watching the show.
For sure.
I don't know why Clingan's on there. That's the only one I don't get. Not being a jerk. I'm making fun of the pose a little bit. But I don't understand why Clingan's in there. I have heard and seen nothing about Clingan that's been crazy impressive. But rookie class is slim pickings at the same time. So.
For sure. And people are voting. But let's go ahead and get to the rookie of the month. And that's Jalen Wells.
Yes.
And so Jalen Wells was by far the winner in this. He had, I think it was 70% of the votes overall. And honestly, if everybody looked at the NBA rookie ratings, he was the leader right now. And so Jalen Wells, shout out to him for the leader in that. Let's go ahead and speed through these. We'll get to John Morant being the October Grizzlies player of the month. He played the best, obviously. But right now we're looking at it. We're like, maybe not right now. And so I'm curious what November looks like, because we're midway through November and we haven't seen him a little bit. So I'm curious if people have short-term memory on that, because Josh should not be November's, but we'll kind of go there. But last thing, did any of these 3 surprise you? You have Boston. This is the favorite team to watch other than the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies got a lot of votes. Okay. I left them out because I didn't think it was necessary. And so I left them out on that. But Celtics, Rockets, and the 76ers.
Good jerseys. That's super surprising.
Gotcha. Big markets, except for, I guess Houston's a big market too.
Houston's the biggest city outside of like New York. It's massive. But yeah, like sort of big markets, good jerseys, not super surprising. I will say, like, outside of the Rockets, I personally hate watching these other teams. I hate watching the Celtics. Like, and listen, they're amazing at basketball, but it's just like I get super bored watching them.
Right.
Maybe it's because they're so good, you get bored watching them. But I'm just like, oh look, another guy shooting a buck naked 3. Yay. And then the Sixers is just like, okay, which foul merchant do you want tonight? Tyrese Maxey or Joel Embiid? Oh, never mind. They're losing by 30 because neither one of them is playing. So I can't stand it. I hope I just don't understand. I don't understand it. It's gross. Foul merchanting left and right, or they don't play.
Ryan's here is like, oh, we need to do a health check on whoever voted for the 76ers.
Yeah, man.
They were the third. They were the 3rd best, I believe. So it went Rockets was first, and then it went Boston, and then 76ers is how the whatever. But yeah, Black and DJ saying the old school Rockets logo. That's my favorite. I'm never going. Anytime I have a chance to use the old school Rockets, I'm going to use it. It's my show. I can do whatever the hell I want to. And so I'm going to
use the Rocket City Trash Panda instead.
No, it's not Rocket City.
Sure it is.
Is it Rocket City? No, it's not.
But it is.
Is it?
Let me look up the Trash Pandas.
It's in is it Birmingham?
I know that's the Barons.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Anyway.
Rocket City Trash Pandas. Why do you even try?
I don't know.
Anyway, change to the Rocket City Trash Pandas. But I get the Rockets entirely. The Celtics I get too. They're an amazing basketball team. I get it. I just personally, not my taste. The Sixers is gross. The Sixers is a gross answer. Like, hey, I want to watch Embiid go. Whatever. Hey, look, I have a guard on there.
Shame.
Instead of actually trying to put the ball through the hoop, which is, I don't know if anybody forgot, the game's about getting buckets. So maybe try and put the ball through the hoop because you're 7 foot with a 5. It's disgusting. I'm completely like, I have no sympathy for like the people who are like, oh, well, Joel Embiid, he's so good. Listen, the dude said he's not going to play back-to-backs for the rest of his entire career. Like, no, right. It's lame. It's lame. It's not a funny troll at this point. It's lame. And then Tyrese Maxey's been playing with Joel Embiid for too long.
Well, and Maxey's out right now, which is obviously an issue in itself. But
been playing with Embiid for too long.
AC Surreal said, if I had to pick another team to watch, I'd watch the Pistons. Well, AC Surreal, you could have voted. There were no Pistons on there, so I know you didn't vote. So next time, take your little phone out. If you're watching this on your phone, just take a screenshot and then go to your photos and just hold down on the QR code. I'm trying to teach everybody because I had that was a question from friends of mine. They were like, all right, but I watch your show on my phone, or they watch a replay. They're like, I didn't think I could. I'm like, okay, well, you still can. It's a QR code lives forever. That QR code is still live right now. Like there could be more people putting in, I don't know, responses as we speak. Yeah, it's still active. I am not going to put out another graphic, but I'm just saying it is. But
you can tell
what's a recount? What's a recount?
Yeah, I demand a recount.
Yeah, but anyway, I hope this catches on because I think this will be fun. It's conversational. And it'll be something we can have a good time on.
I forgot Paul George plays for the Sixers now, too. Some of the most unethical basketball possible lives in that city. And by the way, they don't play anyways. So, like, what does it matter? They took Tyrese Maxey, who's one of the most joyful basketball players in the world, to watch and turn him into a foul merchant. I hate it.
Well, you know what happened is they're in Pennsylvania, right? There's issues with the voting. I think something happened. Sorry, I had to.
You can tell Daniel's married. He's having both controversial conversations and then trapping our listeners into their own words.
It's just
someone's getting into some marital arguments lately.
It's just funny with all the voting, all the stupid stuff surrounding it.
That's where all the votes went. There's not a one.
That's where they went. Sorry,
wrong ballot. Wrong.
We would like to apologize. All right, let's go ahead. The Grizzlies do take on the Warriors Friday night. We're going to have a show as we always do. Friday nights are they've been my favorite ones because I don't have to, wake up too early on Saturday, even though my girls, it's our first tournament this Saturday for the season. So our basketball tournament. And so I will have to wake up very early, but I love Friday nights. It's the NBA Cup game, and so it'll be a good time. And honestly, we get to see old friends of D'Anthony Melton, Kyle Anderson, and so as always, Ryan set us up. So enjoy this look ahead.
Looking ahead to Friday's matchup against the Golden State Warriors is a home game for the Warriors. The Warriors are 9-2 to start the season with a lot of impressive wins. Look, both of these teams, the Grizzlies and the Warriors, are top 5 in the NBA right now in assist percentage, both at 68%. This is a wide open game. Expectation is a lot of offense out of both of these teams. The Grizzlies average 120.9 points per game so far, and the Warriors average 121.2. So high expectations for a lot of high-flying offense with lots of scoring. Defense, both teams have been doing better defensively. The Warriors have been pretty much elite defensively all so far this season. The Grizz have just had some easier games come up where the teams play poorly, so their defense is improving. To me, the judgment of that is going to be the battle of the benches here. These are two of the best teams in the NBA in bench production so far. This is an excellent test to kind of see where the Grizzlies actually are against a high-quality opponent, because I wouldn't say the Grizzlies have played a ton of high-quality opponents, and the Warriors so far this season look that way. The Grizzlies are getting 46 points per game out of their bench, which would have been, if this was held all season, this would have been matched with the best bench team last year, the Indiana Pacers. So this is a really good bench production points wise that the Grizzlies are getting. The Warriors right now, in contrast, are getting 58 points per game from their bench. So I don't expect that number to hold out throughout the entire season, but so far for the Grizzlies and the Warriors, not only has it been about the starters, it's been more about the bench. So a great measuring stick for the Grizzlies in this matchup against a high quality team so far earlier in the season, and the Warriors. Let's look at the benches and see which of those two units come through for their teams. That probably decides this game.
All right, so the bench is obviously the biggest thing that Ryan was hitting on, but also this is a high octane offense. And I was looking at some of those stats as I was putting those slides together, and it was the 240 points was kind of the basis of where they thought this game would end up being. And so I thought 240 is kind of what is roughly the number. Nate, do you know what the over under of this game is?
Oh, 255.5.
No, that's nuts, dude.
I'm saying.
The game is sitting at 229.5.
Over.
So over. Do you know what tonight's game was sitting at?
Oh, I would say if that was 229.5, I'll say 260. I'm just kidding. 218.5.
233.5. Which is okay. So it's opposite, right? Opposite to what I thought. I thought tonight would be like 224, 225. I just went back and it was the last number that settled is 233.5, with the Lakers having a -7.5, which the Grizzlies covered and they went over. If you're into betting at all, but then we're looking into the NBA Cup. People are thinking, hey, it's probably going to be a more defensive game. I don't expect that to be. They're coming off of a big game versus the Mavericks, and this is their second NBA Cup game. And so the Warriors, they want to get up and down. They want to play with these young guys as well. These young guys all make mistakes, as we see for the Grizzlies. They have the same issue there in Golden State. This is an over game for me. Is it an over game for you at 229.5?
Well, both teams like to play up and down anyways, and I would clearly take the alternate over. I would take alternate over there.
Right.
A significant margin.
Yeah. So that's what I'm looking at. I think the same thing. I think that this game will be just a track meet. And so as Blackney DJ saying, this is an easy over. And King Mick's talking about Kuminga playing well. He has been playing well. He's been shooting the ball a little bit better. Pods, he hasn't been playing incredibly good. Steph has been playing amazing. Draymond being Draymond. Draymond versus Edey is a matchup.
Dude, there could be punches thrown.
Because Edey, he'll shoot more threes than Draymond, but they obviously they're going to be like, Rams just going at each other. And shout out to Art over in Brazil. It's 3:40 in the morning. Or I guess now it's 3:46 in the morning. So shout out to you. 12:46 here, 11:46 your time. You're out in the Rockies. I guess you're right. You're in the Rockies. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so we'll see. But Keith's calling Santi the X factor for the Grizzlies as they win, which is, do you know the spread, Nate?
I don't, but I imagine it's Warriors by a decent chunk.
What is decent chunk?
Warriors. I mean, tonight was 7.5, and the Lakers aren't as good as the Warriors. They might factor in Vince coming back. I'll say Warriors 6.5.
8.5.
8.5.
Yeah, you're going the right direction before. Yeah, I would assume that they stick with that. You might see this at 9. You might see this at 8. This line isn't moving. Yeah. I can tell you that. So either way, betting or no betting, I think I look at what the Vegas is showing, because whatever they're showing normally is kind of the way the game's going to go for the most part. But all in all, I expect this to be a good game. Any predictions or any thoughts out of you? Obviously, we talked about the high octane offense of both of these teams. They're both good defensively, but honestly, when you're running up and down the court, you're going to allow a little bit more. But both teams look like they score, 120 or more, as Ryan alluded to. But this could be the battle of the benches. Is what guy off the bench really steps up and kind of helps push this team over. But anything you have on these before we kind of get out of here?
Nope.
Easy enough. I think this will be it'll be a fun game. It'll be a fun matchup. I'm excited to see it. We'll be here Friday night with all of you. Thank you to everybody who is joining us here, all the OGs, as you always do. You're always here hanging out with us from the very beginning to the very end. Even if you have to go off the bed the last few minutes, as Nate yawning. Listen, I have to be up in 2.5 hours to give my wife her pain pill. So I'm in charge of it. So I have to be up in 2.5 hours, and then I get to go back for another sleep, 5 hours tonight. But hey, we do this for you all. We enjoy this. If we didn't enjoy this, we would not be here. But this is always a good time, and the Grizzlies played well tonight. Overall, they end up losing 128 to 123, but a good night around the league overall. We didn't get even a chance to talk about the 50 ball from Wemby. But also it was 50 plus from Giannis, an incredible game from him. And so the look around the league, we'll pass off and we'll kind of hold that for later just because it's late. But all in all, a good night. But this is the Grizz 901 post-game show. I am Daniel. That is Nate. If you're hearing or seeing us for the first time, thank you. And thank you for joining us. We'll be back here each and every weekday after the Grizzlies game. As soon as the game ends, we push the button and we go live with you. So we try to make you a part of the show as much as possible. But if y'all have anything, please reach out to us. I'm at Daniel Greer. He is Mem Grizz Homer. But we'll be back here Friday night. We'll see you all then. Be nice and tell your friends.